Ladies and gentlemen, I'm back. I've been gone for a month or so, but I'm back, hopefully on a more consistent schedule. This is actually my second video, but I don't want to get too much into the intro because I realized last video I yapped for a good few minutes. So we're going to skip the intro entirely. We're going to be going over a quick rundown of my Elimination Chamber predictions. This is going to be a way shorter video than the Royal Rumble predictions because I realized prediction videos are usually a little shorter than that. So I'm just going to go straight into it, starting with the first match on my list, Tiffany Stratton and Trish Stratus versus Nia Jax and Candice LeRae, which is honestly a match I feel like is going to open the Elimination Chamber. It's definitely the least hype out of all the matches on the card. So this is a bit interesting. This is an interesting match for a few reasons. Number one, Tiffany Stratton. She is the women's champion on SmackDown, right? And she's teaming with Trish Stratus, which is a Canadian legend for WWE. Nia Jax, who lost her championship to Tiffany Stratton, and Candice LeRae, which is her new friend, are going against. This is an interesting match because Tiffany Stratton, this is the road to WrestleMania. You know what I'm saying? I feel like Tiffany Stratton should be having matches, especially on pay-per-views, that are more hype, that build up the believability that she can defeat Charlotte Flair, one of the GOATs of wrestling of all time. I feel like WWE should have booked Tiffany Stratton at the Elimination Chamber, but in a one-on-one match against someone like Trish Stratus, because having Tiffany Stratton win against Trish Stratus can only boost her popularity, boost the believability that she can beat Charlotte Flair at WrestleMania. So having her tag with Trish Stratus against Nia Jax and basically what is a woman jobber in Candice LeRae. No shade to her at all, by the way, because she's a very good wrestler. This is not a match that should be happening at Elimination Chamber. When Trish Stratus was a full-time wrestler, this could have been easily a match that happened on a random SmackDown or Raw. Like, I'm just being honest here, right? Obviously, this is a very guaranteed win for Tiffany Stratton and Trish Stratus, all right? Nia Jax and Candice LeRae are not going to be, two of the biggest superstars on the women's roster at the moment. They're not, especially because Trish Stratus is having a match in Canada. It's just not going to happen. This doesn't negate the fact that Tiffany Stratton should not be having these matches on pay-per-views. It's going to be a good match. Okay. But again, there's so many different storylines that WWE could have gone with instead of having Tiffany Stratton and Trish Stratus. There was no storyline build-up between Trish Stratus and Tiffany Stratton, like a proper build-up to build to this match, especially at a pay-per-view like Elimination Chamber. Next up, we have Sami Zayn versus Kevin Owens. Honestly, a match that should happen at WrestleMania, but we're getting it even closer, so I'm not complaining, right? I don't have to wait until April for this match. We're waiting until Saturday, okay? Now, Sami Zayn versus Kevin Owens is going to be one of those matches where, like, if this was a normal pay-per-view with no gimmick attached to it, like SummerSlam or something, this could easily steal the show 100%. This is a unsanctioned match, all right? These two have history that go back all the way to the Indies, that date back all the way to NXT, that date back to even a few years ago on the main roster. These Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens have so much rich history together. And this is honestly the culmination of literally everything they've been through together. Now, I say this, they're probably going to have more matches in the future, but the fact that it's a unsanctioned match, and WWE made it specifically a unsanctioned match instead of a no DQ match, we are in for a treat, okay? I expect Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens to go backstage. I expect Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens to do banned moves left and right. I expect Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens to fight in the crowd. I expect this match to be brutal, bloody, and 5 stars 100%. By the way, if anyone doesn't know what an unsanctioned match is, it essentially is a no DQ match, but storyline-wise, WWE have no say in what happens, what goes down between Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens, and they're not responsible for any of the damages caused to those two humans. So essentially, it's no DQ, but with more stakes storyline-wise. I think this is a really 50-50. It really is. Kevin Owens is probably the best heel in WWE right now, and Sami Zayn is one of the best baby faces in WWE right now. So honestly, I could see it going either way. At the end of the day, I do think Kevin Owens does win. I do think he does come up on top, and he does defeat Sami Zayn to build Kevin Owens as, again, a heel that should not be messed with. Just because he lost to the WWE champion at Royal Rumble does not mean he should be taken lightly. And he's going to absolutely obliterate Sami Zayn, I feel like. Obviously, it's going to be amazing fights, but Kevin Owens is just going to do just a little bit more. I do think Randy Orton does return after the match ends to confront Kevin Owens, maybe RKO's him after coming through the crowd, something like that. But Kevin Owens wins and asserts himself as a heel. Next up, we have the Women's Elimination Chamber. We have Liv Morgan versus Alexa Bliss versus Bianca Belair versus Naomi versus Roxanne Perez versus Bayley. This Elimination Chamber is, I want to say pretty unpredictable, but kind of a little more predictable now that Liv Morgan won the Tag Team Championships with Raquel Rodriguez over on Raw this past week. I think this is going to be another great match, obviously, as most Elimination Women Chambers are. And so I'm going to go over each participant, see what I think is going to happen. So starting with Liv Morgan. Because Liv Morgan just won the Tag Team Championships from Bianca Belair and Naomi. So Liv Morgan, I feel like she was my favorite to win before that. But now that she won the championships, I just don't see a world where Liv Morgan is a double champion, doesn't defend the tag team titles on the biggest stage of them all. It just doesn't make sense for Liv Morgan to win it now that she is a champion. Next up, Alexa Bliss. She was also one of my favorites to win, but now that I think about it, she hasn't really gotten much screen time on SmackDown to kind of build her as a threat in the Elimination Chamber. She got that video package on SmackDown this past week, but like she hasn't wrestled since that qualifying match, and I just don't see a world where Alexa Bliss is winning the chamber, especially considering she's probably going to join the Wyatt Six once Bo Dallas heals up his arm or whatever he hurt that brought them out of action. Although I would not be mad if Alexa Bliss does win, because she is an amazing competitor and absolutely deserves another championship. Next up, we have Bayley. Bayley's another person that I could see win the chamber as well, right? She was champion before. She could be champion again, right? But I just don't see Bayley winning. I kind of think she got her last really big championship reign at last year after she beat Io Sky for the championship. I think Bayley's feud with Roxanne Perez, which we'll touch into in a minute, will lead into WrestleMania, and Bayley's not winning the chamber. Although, again, I would not be mad if Bayley does win, because Bayley fighting Rhea Ripley at WrestleMania would be absolutely stunning, considering Rhea Ripley fought Becky Lynch last year, Charlotte Flair the year before, you know? So I won't be mad at it, but it's just not a realistic possibility. Probably the most unrealistic possibility of all the women in here. Next up, we have Naomi. She just doesn't get enough. She's an amazing wrestler, don't get me wrong. She just doesn't have enough star power, doesn't have enough popularity to warrant a Elimination Chamber win. However, I do think Naomi starts her feud with Jade Cargill and eventually Bianca Belair that leads into WrestleMania. Next up, we have Roxanne Perez, which is a recent NXT call-up who officially made her Raw debut in the qualifying match. Roxanne Perez, she's new, and obviously WWE, once she's on the main roster full-time, she's going to be pushed to the moon. She had the longest stay in a Royal Rumble women's match of all time. An hour, it went way over an hour. I mean, that's pretty impressive, and obviously WWE are going to utilize her to the best of their ability once she's on the main roster. That being said, again, she's going to be a favorite, 100%. She's going to be a favorite. She's going to put on a show. She's probably, I could see her lasting until at least the top 3 participants left. I truly think that WWE are building her as the kind of the 5th horsewoman of the WWE in a way. That being said, again, Roxanne Perez is just, while I would love to see her win, she's just still a little too new to the main roster to be getting pushed like a Elimination Chamber win when there are much better women deserving of the Elimination Chamber win that have been in the main roster for way longer than her. She already had kind of her historic milestone moment this year at the Royal Rumble. I don't think she wins the Elimination Chamber. Finally, we have Bianca Belair, which I think actually wins the match. I think Bianca Belair, you know, she lost her title on Monday to Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez. They kind of have no storyline going on. I don't know what's going on with the Jade Cargill storyline that much, But if that Jade Cargill storyline doesn't lead to a WrestleMania feud, which I honestly at this point, considering we're basically a month out from WrestleMania, I don't see where there's enough build where that could warrant a big WrestleMania match, maybe a triple threat match with Naomi, Jade Cargill, and Bianca Belair. I think Bianca Belair ultimately wins the Elimination Chamber and challenges Rhea Ripley at WrestleMania. That'll be a banger feud, a banger match, right? Especially considering Io Sky is fighting Rhea Ripley for the title, the Raw after Elimination Chamber, which begs the question: what if Io Sky does win? Then imagine Io Sky versus Bianca Belair. You know what I'm saying? That just realistically speaking, Bianca Belair, whether Io Sky wins or not, is the best option for a women's championship feud at WrestleMania. Next up, I want to touch on the offer The Rock is giving Cody Rhodes. Now, The Rock, and I quote, wants Cody's soul. What he means by this, he wants Cody Rhodes to sell out, right? That's what he means by I want your soul. Kind of like how he did back in the day, right? He sold his soul. He became, corporate heel Rock. I think Rock is following that similar path with Cody Rhodes, asking him, if you give me your soul, if you give up your career to me, I'll make you into a better person than you already were. You'll be the best champion that's ever been in the WWE, stuff like that, right? Now, do I think Cody Rhodes is going to accept this offer? Honestly, no. I don't think Cody Rhodes accepts this offer, although I do think it, again, adds another, droplet to the water, right? Cody Rhodes eventually becoming a heel champion because of all his friends turning on him left and right, all that stuff adds fuel to the fire, but ultimately Cody Rhodes is still too pure-hearted for that. He'll decline Rock's offer. Rock will get a little upset, and he'll eventually go to the men's Elimination Chamber match, and I do think Rock actually convinces someone in the men's Elimination Chamber match to sell their soul, which I'll talk about once we get there. Speaking of that, we finally have the men's Elimination Chamber match. We got John Cena, CM Punk, Damian Priest, Drew McIntyre, Logan Paul, and of course Seth Rollins, who are all in the Elimination Chamber to decide who faces Cody Rhodes. Let's start with the participants, right? This is probably going to be the show closer. Damian Priest. He was just champion. He's not going to be champion again. There's just no way obviously he wins like every match he's been in since losing that championship. But again, I just don't see a world where Damian Priest becomes a world champion literally right after losing his championship to Gunther, basically right after. Next up, we have Logan Paul, which honestly is he's one of the most unbelievably gifted athletes in the WWE. Whether you like him as a person or not, you cannot deny the fact that Logan Paul has the in-ring talent to be one of the best WWE superstars of the modern era, if he just dedicates his time fully to WWE and training, right? Now, Logan Paul, I feel like he's been a great heel. He's been doing great heel work. I think that promo between him and CM Punk was, pretty decent, right? That being said, I don't think Logan Paul's ready for a WWE Championship reign. Until he proves otherwise, I just don't see Logan Paul winning the Chamber, especially considering how star-studded it is with people who are way more deserving of it than Logan Paul. Next up, we have Seth Rollins, right? Seth Rollins, the thing with Seth Rollins, right, is that you never know. He could win the freaking Royal Rumble next year and no one will bat an eye because he's just that good, that unpredictable, all that stuff, right? That being said, I don't think Seth Rollins wins the Chamber this time around. They're just way too, I wouldn't be mad at it. He's definitely, a contender. He's going to be a contender in every match he is in, all right? But it's just too star-studded, too many storylines packed into one for Seth Rollins to really make a impact in the Chamber and again win it. I do think, however, Roman Reigns does return in the Chamber and costs Seth Rollins the match, makes Seth Rollins take a pin, and I honestly feel like that's going to happen. So because of that, I just don't think, because of a storyline that's going on with Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns, I just don't see a title being involved. Next up, we have CM Punk. Now, this guy's interesting, right? He goes to Raw every week. He works his ass off. He is 100% deserving of the WrestleMania main event that he's been yearning for so many years, right? And honestly, he is probably my top contender to win. I think CM Punk does win the WWE Chamber. He's just a freaking workhorse. He absolutely deserves the Elimination Chamber win. There's not much else to say besides from that. But let's just go over the other participants that I didn't go over next. Drew McIntyre, right? He just won the Chamber. I don't think he's going to win again, personally. I don't see a world where he wins back-to-back Chambers. Cody Rhodes versus Drew McIntyre does have story, considering Drew McIntyre did beat Cody Rhodes. He was the last person to pin Cody Rhodes cleanly. But I don't see Drew McIntyre winning. Honestly, man, I don't. But again, I wouldn't be mad. Finally, we have John Cena, right? He's on his farewell tour, and he was honestly my favorite to win, especially after Royal Rumble when he came in second place and lost to Jey Uso. I was fully expecting John Cena to win the Elimination Chamber. But considering he has not been on WWE television since the Royal Rumble, it begs the question, are WWE setting up something different, a different storyline for John Cena at WrestleMania? And honestly, I do think they are. I think they are, honestly. But actually, I'll touch into that storyline because it kind of ties into The Rock's whole deal later on. Point is, John Cena, he's obviously my second favorite to win. I wouldn't be mad. I wouldn't be surprised if he wins. But ultimately, when it comes down to it, CM Punk is just the better option. Speaking of business, right? We got The Rock. Okay? And here's what I think happens. I think CM Punk wins the Elimination Chamber. And then eventually John Cena gets desperate. If you remember his press conference after the Royal Rumble, John Cena states he's going to do what's best for business. He's going to win the Elimination Chamber. He's going to main event WrestleMania and fight Cody Rhodes for the championship and win his 17th championship. And what I'm thinking is that once CM Punk wins the Elimination Chamber, right, John Cena thinks he lost his last chance to get that 17th championship before he retires. He's going to grow desperate. And I think this is where The Rock's offer comes in. I think The Rock does convince John Cena, or John Cena convinces himself, that this is what is best for business. If John Cena goes and teams with The Rock, John Cena knows that The Rock is way above him. John Cena knows that The Rock can get him into that, championship match. And I do think that is what's going to happen. I think John Cena ultimately turns heel like everyone wanted him to for years. He's finally feeding into the booze. He's finally feeding into the heat that he gets. He becomes a fully fledged heel until at least WrestleMania or SummerSlam. I think he's under The Rock's wing. The Rock gets him the match at WrestleMania versus Cody Rhodes, making it a triple threat match between John Cena, Cody Rhodes, and CM Punk. That's what I think is going to happen, right? Corporate heel Cena is honestly the best choice WWE could make storyline wise, right? I mean, can you imagine that? Can you imagine that? I also want to touch on the other participants that I could see selling their soul to The Rock. One of them being CM Punk. CM Punk absolutely hates Rock, and we've known that from their feud back in 2011, I believe. So it's 100% possible if CM Punk does not win the Chamber that he sells his soul to The Rock. I think CM Punk uses the Paul Heyman favor to convince The Rock to let CM Punk under his wing and have CM Punk become corporate heel Punk and, have the Summer of Punk Part 3. Anyways, that's going to do it for this video. I know it's a little short. I'm kind of on a time crunch right now, so yeah. See you in the next one.